Welcome to her Heart Whispers, where every story is a heartbeat and every whisper holds a truth. Tonight, we invite you into a gentle, slow-burning tale, a love that unfolds in silence, in ink, in unspoken glances, between a quiet literature teacher and a chaotic, brilliant artist. This is Green Ink on the Board, a story about finding connection in the most unexpected corners. Now close your eyes, breathe in, and let the story begin. The classroom buzzed with end-of-summer restlessness, but Ms. Rachel Evans brought with her a calm that sliced through the noise like silk. A literature teacher with a spine of steel and eyes like quiet storms, Rachel scribbled Emily Dickinson's words onto the board. Just as she turned to speak, a soft knock interrupted. "Sorry." "Wrong room," came a voice, too cheerful for a Monday. A woman with wild curls and a sunflower toque grinned from the doorway. "I'm Ivy Parker, the new substitute art teacher," she added, waving. Rachel blinked, offered a curt nod, and returned to her lesson without missing a beat. But Ivy's presence lingered like citrus on the air. Later that day, Rachel found herself crossing paths with Ivy again, this time in the staff lounge. Ivy plopped into the seat across from her with a smile that didn't ask for permission. Rachel eyed the 3 other empty chairs. Plenty of light elsewhere. Ivy just sipped her coffee and grinned. "I like how you sit." Rachel tried to focus on her book, but Ivy leaned in. "You teach lit, right?" "I adore Rilke Dickinson," Rachel replied without looking up. "Ooh, the queen of quiet longing," Ivy said, then added with a wink. "Kind of like you." Rachel closed her book. "Excuse me," she said coolly, and walked out. Tuesday morning arrived with an unshakable chill, the kind that made even hot coffee feel like a suggestion rather than a solution. Rachel entered her classroom as always, early, orderly, and armed with her chalk. But something was off. On the top right corner of her chalkboard, someone had drawn a cat, lounging on an open book, smug and cozy, done entirely in green marker. Next to it, "Some books are just too good not to share. Your artsy neighbor." Rachel stared for a full 5 seconds before erasing it with surgical precision. No hesitation, no comment. But that was just the beginning. By Thursday, the green marker had returned, this time with a sketch of a sunflower growing out of a stack of books. Ivy had struck again. Rachel refused to acknowledge it, publicly, but she didn't erase it either. At lunch, Rachel found Ivy in the staff room, barefoot of all things, sitting cross-legged on the couch and eating yogurt straight from the tub. "Why aren't you wearing shoes?" Rachel asked, horrified. "Shoes stifle creativity," Ivy replied seriously, then licked the spoon. "Also, I spilled paint in them." Rachel blinked. "You're chaos wrapped in a scarf." Ivy beamed. "Thank you. Finally, someone gets me." That afternoon, Rachel returned to her classroom to find Ivy inside, elbow deep in paint with 3 students. "Art club," Ivy said, not bothering to explain how or why she had commandeered Rachel's classroom. "There's a whole studio for this," Rachel deadpanned. "Was double booked," Ivy shrugged. "And your room has better vibes." Rachel sighed, but didn't object. Not really. The room echoed with paintbrush laughter, the smell of acrylics mixing with chalk dust. Rachel sat in her usual corner, pretending to read but watching Ivy out of the corner of her eye. Ivy's hands were everywhere, guiding strokes, adjusting palettes, brushing back her curls. She was pure movement, pure color. And when their eyes met, just for a second, it felt like the room stopped moving. That night, Rachel found a quote on the board. "Be yourself. Everyone else is already taken." Oscar Wilde. With it, 2 tiny doodles of theater masks, one smiling, one frowning. Rachel didn't erase it. The next morning, she lingered a few seconds longer by the board, just long enough to smile. The board was empty. For the first time in 2 weeks, no quote, no sketch, no hint of green ink. Rachel stood before it longer than usual, her hand hovering with the chalk, unsure what to do with all the space. The silence was not peaceful. It roared. Rumors had bloomed like mold in damp corners, quiet at first, then multiplying. They're always together. I saw them laughing. Do you think it was high school after all, and not just for the students? Ivy stopped leaving quotes, stopped showing up. Rachel didn't ask. She didn't have to. But then, Ivy appeared at her desk after lunch on Wednesday, not with a joke or a sunflower doodle, but with trembling fingers. I'm being reassigned. Rachel's world tilted. They said some parents complained about the tone of the board, about us. Ivy gave a tight smile. I'm just a temp. Easier to remove. We did nothing wrong. Rachel's voice came out sharper than intended. No, Ivy said. We just existed in a way they didn't expect. There was a beat of silence. Then Ivy asked, voice low, would you fight for me? Rachel couldn't answer. She turned back to her desk. I have essays to grade. By Friday, Ivy was gone. The sunflower mug, the green ink, the quiet humming, all gone. Rachel tried to move on, tried to forget. But silence had changed its flavor. It now tasted like regret. Days passed. Then, under a stack of essays, she found an envelope. Her name, Ivy's handwriting, no quote. Just a drawing, 2 chalkboards, one blank, one filled with color, quotes, and 2 stick figures side by side. Underneath, you once asked me not to paint half the story. So here's the whole thing. I fell for you. Rachel sat still for a long time, then stood, then ran. Rain was falling when she reached the coffee shop on 6th. Ivy sat alone, sketching. I kept the bird, Rachel said. Ivy looked up. Her eyes widened slightly. The Dickinson one? Rachel nodded. I'm not great with speeches, but I don't want to go back to silence. Ivy reached across the table, gently, fingers brushing Rachel's. You don't have to be loud, she whispered. You just have to show up. Rachel laced their fingers together, and this time she didn't let go. Thank you for listening to her heart whispers. If this story touched something quiet inside you, stay with us. There are more whispers waiting. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and share if you felt something tonight. You are seen, you are loved, and your story matters. Until next time.